Welcome to the Seeds of Wisdom series. We hope you enjoy today's guest. Disclaimer: the Seeds of Wisdom digs into some deep subject matter. In order to plant a seed, we have to dig in the dirt. That's how we grow. If any of the subject matter feels like too much, it is important to seek your own mental health support. I did, and it's why I'm able to be here doing this today. Hello, and welcome to episode 16 of Seeds of Wisdom, brought to you by From a Loving Place with author Rachel Wolf. I'm Rachel Wolf, and today I'm so excited to have fellow Mango author, master goal setter, author of Your Goal Guide, Debra Eckerling, with me to talk about finding purpose in goal setting. I have tingles just thinking about this conversation. So, Debra, I'm going to let you introduce yourself so we can dive right in.
Well, you gave the highlights. I am author of Your Goal Guide. I am also creator of the Deb Method, which is my system for goal setting simplified. I believe to get what you want, you need to know what you want. So everything I talk about, I lead workshops, I speak, I write, obviously. I do all of the things, but it's all with that purpose. Oh, there's that word already. All with the purpose of helping people figure out what they want and how to get it.
Awesome. Well, and that's exactly where I actually want to start, is right in chapter 1. You start, in order to get what you want, you need to know what you want. So what did that mean for you? Like, how did you get to that for yourself?
Can I back up before I move forward?
Of course.
One of the things that really bugs me about other goal setting experts, and yes, I'm using the air quotes, is they always talk about the destination. And yes, it is important. However, if you're just chasing money, maybe you'll find money, but you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be fulfilled. So, and then the other part is people, oh, this is my education. I'm going to continue down that path that I started. And this drives me crazy because in this age that we live in, anything isn't just, I love this. Ann Curry said this on a stage we shared for 140 conference, like over 10 years ago. And it just, it's so stuck. It's not that anything is possible, anything is probable. And I believe that's so even more relevant now because we've got everything at our fingertips. We don't like our life, we can change it. Maybe we can't change everything, but we can change little pieces of it. So when you talk about things like purpose and what it means to me, to get what you want, you need to know what you want. Everybody deserves to be happy, to be fulfilled, and at least some, if not all of their life. But so many people are chasing what their life used to be or what they think their life should be. But when you start with that foundation, when you dig deep, okay, what do I want? What does that mean to me? Then anything and everything, you can bring it to you and you can live that life you so desire.
So did you go to like goal setting seminars, something that kind of made you see this empty spot, like something's missing here? What happened like within you that you figured that out, that piece?
Well, I don't know why my voice decided to stop working. Give me one second for water.
Very important.
Okay, let's try this again. So my goal journey actually started years ago, back when I lived in Chicago. I've been in LA for more than 20 years, so do whatever math you want. But I was leading events for the bookstore, and whenever I needed to fill my calendar, I would just hang out in the cafe because to me, it was a community bookstore. It is for the community. And one day, one of my regulars came in and he's like, "Hey, Deb, will you start a writer support group?" And I said, "Well, if you think people will show up, yeah, let's give it a try." So we did. It was a success, but it really showed me the value of setting goals, goal setting, and that accountability piece, because I wasn't going to invite people or ask people to do anything that I wasn't prepared to do myself. So I would set goals. And even though my goals were, and so I've been out of journalism school, but I I got the job at the bookstore and then I got promoted and moved to another bookstore and I really loved that environment, but I wasn't doing the writing. So my goal was to write like a fun slice of life article for every goal meeting. And sometimes I admit it, I would be writing it on the day of, but that's what deadlines are for. But really being in this environment in all of my groups over the years, it's the same thing. Okay, what have you accomplished? What is your win? What are you working on? How can we support you? And what are you going to do for next time? So it is that, okay, win, support, goal. And I kept my notes, but I was doing this for myself, not just for the people in this community. And a few months later, I was at an event and I met someone and they were pitching their magazine. And I'm like, do you need writers? And I had articles, I had specs to send them because I had been setting and achieving goals because of this group that I set. So that was a really long way of telling that part of the story, but it's still, it's, it's so important when you have that community, when you have that support. And I would keep my notebook and keep tabs on everybody and myself. But to get those wins and to come in and be like, I did this and have a community of support, it's everything. So that's really where my goal setting journey started. And then my business background, it is communications and project management, which of course lends itself to everything, right? So everything really intertwines. So that was my first, and then the group has evolved over the years. I moved to LA, I restarted it. It was live and then a hybrid, and then only online, and then a hybrid again. And then obviously the last couple of years it's been through my Write On Online Facebook group. But the tenets are the same. You know, what are your goals? What are your networking goals? I always ask that question because you can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. What was your biggest win this week? Photo Friday, share something about yourself. So inspiring conversations that bring about community where people can uplift themselves. So, oh, and then the other important piece is in the evolution, it's not just for writers, it's writers, creatives, and entrepreneurs, because if you're one, you're the other too. So that is the longer version of my short story. And one other piece to it. So over the years, people were like, you're good at this. Can I hire you? I've been trying to write my book for years and we got it done in 3 months. Or you're good at this. Will you speak at my event? Okay. So it really evolved in the best possible way, finding something I loved that I knew that there was a need for, and then watching it grow and evolve. And then in 2018, that's when I rebranded. Oh, you'll love this part of the story. This is when I rebranded as the Deb Method, because it, like I said before, my background is communications. My main communications client was going away, and I took that as a sign that to really step into what I believe I was meant to do, which is help people figure out what they want and how to get it. And my mom goes to me, you hate SMART goals. Can't you create Deb goals? And I said, you know, my name works absolutely perfectly with what I've been teaching for years, which is the foundations of goals. And DEB stands for determine your mission, explore your options, brainstorm your path. And it's through those 3 phases that you can set that foundation and then figure out what speaks to you, what to pursue, and then make a plan to turn it into reality.
I, I just love your story because it honestly shows what happens when we just start taking steps towards our passion. Do you know what I mean? It's like listening to your story. It's like you were doing what you love and it expanded. You were doing what you love and it expanded. You were doing what you love and it just grew bigger and bigger to the point where when you saw this way of doing it your own way, your name literally was the answer to it. I mean, that's so great. And it just it lights up my heart hearing stories like this, because it's, to me, it's that reminder, yes, follow your passion, but
Yes.
do it regularly. Like, take steps towards it and keep doing it, and don't give up and just say I don't have time.
That is really the biggest thing. And so my book came out January 2020, and the purpose being to help people embrace change by choice or circumstance. And then 6 weeks later, everybody got changed by circumstance. And everybody actually had time. You know, you used to commute to work. Well, why don't you use, you don't even have to use every day of that commute time, but some of it to explore what lights you up, explore what is next for you, and do, even if it's 15 minutes a week. Yes, even 15 minutes a week is better than no minutes ever. And it doesn't have to be a big life change. It can be like a side hustle-y thing, something that you're developing. You've always wanted to write a book. You've always wanted to start a podcast. You always want to start an Etsy store. What is that thing that you can do just a little bit each week, and then that's going to expand and spiral in a good way.
Yes. Well, and in your book, you talk about something that really hit me hard because it just is right up my alley of like something that goes along with everything I do, which is before we get stuck in overwhelm, it's good to be prepared for that so that we remember to do things that make us happy, that we can look at a list. Like for me, I have a happy playlist. So it's like if I feel myself starting to get down, I can play the happy playlist. I can do these things that I know might keep me from getting into that overwhelmed spot. And you in your book have this make a list of 50 things you can do to make you happy. And you break it down 10 in 15 minutes or less, 10 in less than an hour, 10 for a free morning or afternoon, 10 in a day, and 10 in 2 days or more. I'm like, that's just brilliant. Because I just love where that guides you. Just because if you put your energy into thinking about that, it just guides you for it into such a positive direction.
The other thing that I try and do is it's like taking the thinking out of thinking, right? Because when you've got the list, instead of saying, what can I do? You can just go to your list and say, oh, well, I've got this. And another thing that I've been saying a lot lately is, especially with, because we're still mostly online or a
Mhm.
hybrid or whatever, but regardless, we have online meetings. Let's say a meeting's canceled. Don't fill it with work, fill it with joy, fill it with, instead of getting aggravated because something changed, get excited because you can use this as me time.
I love that. I
I
I
thought you might.
I do. I love that. And because that's the way I think. I'm always okay if things change and if things cancel because I feel like it's leading me where I'm supposed to be anyway. So if things don't work out the way I expected them to, I'm like, I check my expectations. It's like,
Hmm.
you know, okay, I'm where I'm supposed to be because I'm there. Because this is where I am. So let me do with this what I can. What opportunities does this give me? So yeah, I love that. That's great.
The other thing that, the other list that I love, that I've said at least 5 times in the last week, is to keep this win list. So as you're working towards your goal, keep, and the way I do it is it's like a journalette, right? So take a notebook or an electronic, I keep mine in a Google Doc, and every day just write 1 to 3 wins. And it can be like I survived, or I made soup for dinner, or it could be I sent out like 3 pitch letters, or I was invited to speak on a podcast. So whatever the win is, and yes, you were that one when I got that that invitation the other day. So, but whatever it is, and that way, if you're like, oh my goodness, it's taking forever to
Yeah.
get where I want to go, you can just look at your list and say, look at all the cool stuff that I've done. Because it all starts with the wins. Because when you have those wins, you've got that energy, and that's gonna help propel you forward.
Yeah, and that's a lot where my work goes is we have to align with the energy we want to be in. Because if we're in the energy of fear and lack and separation, we're going to attract more of it, because that's where our stories are going to go in our heads. So
Hmm.
I love that by going into the win, we keep our stories in that energy of the win. So it gives it momentum. I love that.
The other part of it too is, so we're at the beginning of the year, and you know this about me. I talk goals year round.
Mhm.
And the only reason I talk about it at the beginning of the year is because everybody talks about it at the beginning of the year. But I start the new year in December and then do another new year, new you push in January, and then summer goals, fall goals, and everything in between. But we're in late recording this, like just late January
Mhm.
already. And a lot of people are like, oh, blew my goals. Oh well, I'll start again next year. No, when you look at the win list, you could say, maybe I haven't gotten those specific goals, but look at what I've done. These progress, all these big, these, all of these bits of progress, they're wins. And the little wins all add up to the big wins. And we'll go back to like the purpose. When you are working towards goals, things that fulfill you. So D is determine your mission. So it's always about, why do you do what you do? What makes you unique? And most importantly, how you help. And with that purpose, whether it is to inform, entertain, educate, all the above, when you're moving forward with purpose, that is also fuel. And if you need the little wins to like give you a little kick in that fuel meter, do it. Because whatever you need to do to turbocharge, to remember the purpose behind everything that you are doing, the better.
And I love that in your book too, you and I have something similar in both our books is we have create our own mission statement.
Mm-hmm.
And, for me, it was about how I want to live my life from a loving place. And so that has guided everything I do. And it's not a loving place, it's being able to project from a loving place. That means self-love. It means the inner work. That means me, doing the work so I can project it out. I love that you use it for goal setting too, because it's we have to do both. We have to see what our purpose is to be led somewhere. To let the universe go, okay, you want to go in this direction? Okay, we know.
Absolutely. And there are goal haters out there.
Mhm.
You know this.
Yes.
If you're listening, well, if you're listening to this, you probably aren't one, but you've probably met one or two in your life. And I get people say to me, well, I don't believe in goals, I believe in intentions. And it's like, guess what? A goal starts with that intention. What do you want to create? And then what are the pieces you need to put into motion to turn that intention into reality? So it starts there.
Yes. And with that, we are going to end the first part of Seeds of Wisdom and go into Beyond the Seed. So, if you are listening on anything else but YouTube and you want to go deeper into this, because this is going to get good, this is going to get really good in here. So, go to YouTube and see the extended if you're anywhere else. Thank you so much, Deb, for being a part of this. And we will continue on.
Well, and thank you. I love hanging out with you and I love talking about goals. So today is just a win, win, win goes on the list.
Yes. Wonderful. Okay. So you were talking about, we were talking about mission statements. We were talking about all of that. So let's go deeper into that because I really think that there's so much more because you were talking about the goal haters. And the part that I love about what you do is the difference between that intention, like you were saying, and actually setting the goal is the action
Right.
that goes. Because when we set a goal, it's something that we're more committed to go, okay, I have to take this step, this step, this step. And then it's like what puts us on the journey. Because if we just have the intention, we can just sit there all day long and go, it's going to happen for me. But if we don't do the footwork, we're just going to sit here like this going, it's going to happen for me. And it takes the footwork, it takes us having that momentum that goes with the energy that goes in the forward motion to do what you did. And it's like I just keep going back to that original story. You were passionate about something and you kept taking steps because of your goals.
Yes. And as this, I don't know if this goes in this conversation at this point of the conversation, but I'm going to say it anyway because why not? Um, the reason I love events so much. So I do goal setting simplified workshops, work with people, but I also do, I call them pep talks,
Mhm.
pre-event planning workshops to help people. Either I kick off events or I do training with teams that are going to events, because that is where the gold is to achieve your goals. So it's exactly what you're saying. You can have as many intentions as you want. If you sit at home thinking, okay, well, if you sit at home and do nothing, if you sit at home and go online, that's action. That counts
Yeah.
as well.
Hmm.
But events are such a fruitful way of meeting the people that you need to meet and learning the things you need to learn to up level your goals. And going back to the story I told, I started setting goals for writing, and I had these spec articles. And at an event, I met somebody who worked for a magazine, and through that conversation, I got my first ongoing freelance gig because I was open. I knew who I needed to meet. So when I got there, it was like perfect. So it's not just setting, well, I say when you do your mission and your motto for yourself, for your business, it's all about helping others. When you go to events, when you put yourself in other situations, those are when you need the mission for yourself. What can you gain from this opportunity so you can build your business and help more people?
Yeah. And what I like about your method is because you celebrate the incremental progress along the way, it's about the journey. And the thing is the goals can shift, the goals can change as the journey opens up, and that's okay. But just taking those steps towards something that you're passionate about can open those doors.
Exactly. Because you don't know. Well, first of all, you don't know what you don't know, which we
Yeah.
all know.
Yes.
The other reason and that I love the mission statement, and then I add on a piece, so it's not just a mission statement, it's the motto.
Hmm.
So what is that 3 to 5 word phrase, title, theme song that keeps you moving forward? Because as you're on your journey, you are going to get opportunities. How do you decide what what is in alignment with you? Well, you've got your mission statement. It's probably long and clunky, which is good. The longer and the clunkier, the better, I say. But that mission, or that motto, that I was going to say that perky fun, 3 to 5 word phrase that embodies you. That is your decision tree. Hey, Deb, want to be on a podcast and talk about missions for goals? Well, is it in alignment with my motto, goal setting simplified? Of course it is. So Deb, do you want to talk about carburetors? No. I don't know where that came from. I guess no. Probably even the furthest for me would be, Deb, do you want to talk about science? Gee, no, thank you. No, when other opportunities come your way, though, you can say, is it an alignment? No. Is it another benefit? Okay, well, science, there is science behind the way that we write and the way that we believe. I guess I could talk about it, but it is not my main thing. Would it be a benefit? Well, I would meet other people who would be good to be in my tribe.
Mhm.
Yes. But if it's a no, science, are you kidding me? Then you can find better ways to spend your time. So using that as your compass, it's either a yes or a no, but it will benefit me otherwise, or no. And then you find something else.
Well, and I think that's great too, because on a personal level, that's healthy boundaries.
Exactly.
So let's say you find your purpose, you have your motto, it helps determine the healthy boundaries for your life. So it's not just in the professional realm either. This is something we can do to truly support ourselves. And then what happens is our confidence level is so much higher when we have healthy boundaries and can say no when it's meant to, a good no, and yes when it's a good yes, and trust our alignment with what, you know, what our mission is, what our motto is, and that goal ahead of us. And if our goal shifts and changes, going with that and go, okay, what are the new goals for this journey? What, I took this turn, so let's go this way. And I just love your method because it lends for both personal and professional.
Thank you for highlighting that, because they, I take it for granted. They work together,
Yes.
because if your personal life is good, your professional life is good. If your professional life is good, your personal life, they impact each other. The one more thing on the yes no thing: when you say no to something that isn't a fit for you, it gives someone else the opportunity to say yes. So you're actually gifting a yes to someone else by saying no.
Oh, I just got chills on that one. I love that. Because and that's, you know, and we can reverse that too, is when we get a no, it it's like making space for us to get the right yes for us. Like it
Exactly.
flips around.
It does. And one of my favorite no stories is, and this was it was pre-writing the book, it's in the book. Someone invited me to be on a panel about women in the workplace. Now, I hadn't had a day job in 10 years, but this was a friend and she invited me to be on this panel, and I said yes. And then I regretted it like the second I said yes. And as luck or fate or whatever would have it, it was canceled the morning of the event. There was a problem with the venue and they had to reschedule. And then when they rescheduled for January, I said, you know, I would love to be part of this, but it is goal season and I just cannot commit to something that is not in true alignment with goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
With what I do. And something came up for that day, that time, that was more in alignment. So by saying no, there was the space for the yes. There
I
you go.
love that. That's, oh, and this is exactly, you know, I feel like if we are anti something, we have to really look at being anti. Like, let's say someone's anti goal.
Mhm.
Why are we really anti goal? What is this about? Is it about that education of goal, like you were saying before, that skips the journey? Is that, is that the part? Is it feel like it's too frigid that you can't change the goal? Like, is it really the goal that you're fighting? You know? And it's being able to, as our, as individuals, to look at that anytime we're anti something, like goals, or even things like forgiveness or whatever it is. It's like, what about it are we anti? Because I feel like we put an obstacle up for following our purpose when we're so strong believe in an anti like that, like an anti goal. It's like it doesn't serve us to be anti, because that's the energy in the wrong place.
Absolutely. And for the record, I am not anti-carburetors or anti-science. These are just topics with which I probably am not the best
Yes.
authority on.
No, and
But
it's a difference.
it's okay.
Yes.
The other part, and this is uh, goals fail. Let me get on my soapbox for a second. Goals fail because people overthink their goals, or they underthink their goals, or they're living a life that that was like their history. You know, I went to school
No.
for this education. I know more than one recovering lawyer. I know several recovering lawyers, but I know more than one recovering lawyer who's built businesses around helping lawyers or people with legal degrees do things other than law. I know somebody who created a community for physical therapists, people with those degrees, to do things other than physical therapy. It does not matter your education. Your education is something, you can bring to anything. So and if you're feeling like that's the barrier, okay, this is my education, this is my job, I don't love it, but I'm in for the long haul. Fine. Create something on the side that's going to bring you joy. It's going to bring you energy. Or look at the parts of your job that you love and see how you could do more of those. So it's never, if you're stuck because of your education or your history, your level of experience, think about it in more creative ways. Go back to that list. Write out like 50 things. And I say 50 because when you brainstorm, first 5 are easy, the next 5 are kind of easy. When you get to 20, you're really thinking. So that's why 50 is like a really good number for
Mhm.
brainstorming. But think about all the different creative ways that you can use your knowledge or all the things that you love in addition to your job that you can create, that you can do, that's something that's going to be fun, it's going to fill you up and help you thrive.
Well, and you bring up a great point because our story about what we do that's happening in our head that's spinning creates energy.
Right.
So if we're not doing anything we love and our story's just in misery or staying here because I have a degree or staying here because this is the path I chose or this is the career I chose, so I have to stay here. It's it creates such big blocks is when we can open it up and just say, okay, that's a perspective. That's just a thought. There are many other thoughts that I can be thinking. And just to even stand that we can see other thoughts and look at that because that can break us out of that the trap that we put ourselves in by telling ourselves stories of we can't over and over and over.
And the other piece that I think is really important, there's a lot of writing in my book. There are a lot of fun writing. No, it is not a tour. These are fun writing exercises designed to help you explore. But that is the other piece is when you try and figure things out in your head, no. Just no. Or as I say, it's great to think about your goals, but if all you're doing is thinking about your goals, it's cheating. Write down, do the brainstorms. I have a technique I call directed journaling, and you can use this. I use it in the book for it's the first part of explore your options. Just think about your mission and how you want it to how you want to bring it to the world, or what's next for me with your mission in mind. And what you're doing is 3, 4, 5, 15-minute sessions, which are just brain dumping. You're brainstorming, you're free writing the answer to a very specific question. As I said, you can do it for if you're trying to figure out your mission or your motto or your visualization, your perfect life. You can use it basically, it's like the cure all for solving any problems. But for the purposes of this conversation, if you don't know where to go next, write things down in consecutive days or over the course of a week. Don't look at it until after you've completed the exercise, and then you can see it's right in front of you. What are the things that you love? What are you drawn to? And the things that you mention the most, you're going to put the most energy towards. You might have thought it was one thing that you mentioned twice, but there's something else that you mentioned like 20 times that you're like, oh my goodness, I never realized I had this interest. So when you get things out of your head and onto the page, it is an opportunity to give yourself an objective perspective over what is not just possible, but probable if you put the time and the energy into it.
Well, and I love that you say that because, for me, I write my blog, I write different blog series depending on where I am, what I need. For a year, I wrote Daily Aligning with Love, Abundance, and Peace because it was instead of aligning with fear, lack, and separation. So every day I committed to that writing because that was going to get me in the energy I wanted to be. Right now, I'm writing, what can I do now? Because it's about what can I do right now? That step. What's the step I can take right now? And instead of getting overwhelmed with all these far out things and doing it now. But I can't do that if I don't know where I want to go. I don't know the energy. I don't know, you know, I'm aligning with my mission because that's I know what it is. And that's something that you just like reminded me of, like, oh, That's a good one to do, is rewrite my mission statement on what I can do now so I can really refocus. And I
Awesome.
love that.
Don't you love it when you're hosting a podcast and you give yourself homework?
I love
It's like the best.
Well, and it's so funny because I have noticed, like with doing Seeds of Wisdom, all the guests are like perfectly put into my life for what I need, for what I
Hmm.
need to be working on. And this podcast is absolutely no different because I'm like, yeah, that's it. I just got a few different things. I'm like, oh, this I could do now, and this I can do now, and go back to that happy list and look at those 10 things again. Because I first read your book in 2020. So it's been a little bit. Things have changed and shifted. I have two full-grown teenagers right now.
It,
Things shift.
and it's really funny. Someone said to me the other day, "Are you going to update your book?" And I said, "Why?" It is probably the most evergreen tool you can use in your life for refocusing. And people ask me all the time, and when should I rethink my goals? When you are facing change by choice or by circumstance. So basically, whenever,
Yeah.
right? And yes, if you're the type who does it at the beginning of the year, fine. If you do it at the beginning of the year, summer, if you do it quarterly, doesn't matter. But first, you have to gift yourself the time and the space to decide, and first of all, to choose yourself, and then to give yourself the time and the energy to figure out what is that foundation. At the end of the year, what do I want to be saying that I'm doing?
Yeah.
When you write your future bio, you write it in the present because that gives it power. So, what do you want your future bio to say about you this time next year, or by your birthday, or by whatever milestones? And what can you do again every day, every other day? This is the other thing I'm big on, is my 5 of 7 rule. We can't always work towards our goals every day, like in an actual physical, no, I would love to just spend all day every day talking about goals. Part of that is part of my goal, to change the way people think about goals in and out of the workplace. That's a part of it. I can't talk every single day. I wouldn't get anything else done. It's part of, and it's an important part, but it is not everything.
Mm-hmm.
So look at your life and see what's reasonable for you. What can you do every week, every other week? What can you do in 15-minute increments? Even if it's writing a list about what you're going to do next to get toward your goal. So the next time you've got 15 minutes, you just go to your list and say, I can do that. I have 15 minutes. I can get that done. So whatever it is, set yourself up for success. Do not put barriers that don't need to be there.
When that's, you remind me of my personal story with goals when it comes to a personal thing. So I had been in a very toxic relationship, and I was like, I was determined, I want to be in a I want to get to a healthy relationship. My goal is to get into a healthy relationship. So what I had to do was first know what I want.
Oh, we're my gold stars. Yay.
Know what I want. And so I started with lists upon lists upon lists of what I actually want. And then I wrote a letter in present tense as if I
Right?
already had it. And then, because of my degree being in human development and knowing that in order to get it, I had to be it, I can't attract what I'm not. So if my self-esteem is low, I'm going to attract someone who would be attracted to a low self-esteem, which is not a healthy person.
Right?
So I had to do my personal work to get to that level to attract the partner that I actually wanted. So I took that list and I did and became everything on that list. I went all the places that I listed. I did all the things that I wanted to do. But that is setting goals. That is doing the work of goals in your personal life. And I just wanted people to like have something to see like that It's the same concepts.
It is absolutely the same concept. And when
Yep.
I talk about personal goals, it's mapped out into project goals and lifestyle goals. So the project goals are, I want to build a tree house, or I want, I want to write that book that's always been in my head, or whatever it is that you love. Those lifestyle goals, what are the things that you need to do every day, every week, every month to um, live a healthier life, be a better version of yourself, travel more family time, whatever it is in those avenues, it's exactly, you make that list and you do the things. And you don't have to do all the things all the time, but you do want to make incremental progress because that's going to fuel you and it's going to help move you forward.
Thank you so much for being on this extended conversation. It has been absolutely amazing. If for whoever is watching this and listening to it, know that if you are here, you are meant to be here. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So, thank you for coming on, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you so much for having me. And for everybody who's listening, thank you for choosing yourself, choosing your goals, because your life is in your hands. So go for it. And thank you so much for this conversation. It's been wonderful.
Thank you. Make sure to follow the links that accompany this episode. You will learn a lot more about today's guest and see what they have going on now. You will also get all the links to follow them on their journeys if this seed resonates with you. Come back next week for another Seed of Wisdom. If you loved what you saw or listened to, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.